Sadhu and liberation. What is a sadhu? Who is a sadhu? What exactly do we understand by sadhu? There are yogis, there are priests, there are mystics, there are saints, there are sadhus. Sadhus are of different kinds, they follow different cults. But what makes a sadhu? Why do you see so many sadhus in India? Especially if you go to some religious cities, religious centers like Vrindavan, Mathura, Varanasi, Banaras, or Tirunamalai, or maybe Bodh Gaya. Monks, we call them monks there in Buddhism. But in Hindu religion, we call them sadhu. And you can go to Dwarka. So there are different religious places, Rishikesh, Haridwar. So there are many religious centers which are full of sadhus. Have you ever wondered why do we find so many sadhus in India? You don't find these kind of renunciates in different other parts of the world. There are religious places, but in India, this kind of transformation, or somebody becomes a sadhu and lives a life of a renunciate. They are basically physical. In physical form, they renunciate. And then they also have to ultimately achieve a mental renunciation. So what is that? There are two things we need to really understand, or the two observations which I had. One is that most of the sadhus are all men. And second thing is, why do they become sadhu? What makes them sadhu? So both are also connected in a way. And that is third observation which I've had is the most of the sadhus are from rural areas. They are not urban people. Urban people don't become sadhu. That's another reason, another observation I've had. So I'll talk about why don't urban people become sadhus? Because you have moved into an urban lifestyle. Your mind has changed. You have acquired a lot materialistically. You are moving on a very different path. Your mind works very differently when you are an urban citizen. You have acquired materialistically. You have progressed or moved. I won't use the word progress. Progress looks very positive, but actually we are not progressing in the positive direction, living urban life. We have moved in very differently. So to change into a sadhu, there's a huge gap, and you need a lot of great understanding of what exactly you will do when you become a sadhu, and why will you become a sadhu, leaving all the urban glamour and urban comforts and urban ambitions. So that's, I don't want to go deeply into this subject, but I'm just giving at a superfluous level that urban shift from a urban way of living to become a renunciate, to leave all that materialistically acquired, is very, very difficult. So you will rarely find people who actually will become a sadhu or a renunciate or a yogi or a mystic or move into this kind of life, leaving all behind. So that's one reason that I have observed that sadhus will generally have been, and whatever sadhus I've seen come across, they definitely seeing their background or seeing their behavior or their various aspects. When I see them, observe them, or even talk to them or interact with them, or see their conduct and behavior, what I found that 99% of those sadhus are actually from underprivileged or rural areas. And why do people renunciate? So now I'll come to the second point, that why do people renunciate? Why do they become a sadhu? Because when you see that they are coming from a very different background, where they could not move into urban lifestyle, they had many socio-economical challenges. So all these people they were exposed to socio-economical challenges, many issues. It can be also poverty, it can be extreme social problems they have witnessed in their young age. And also, most of them relinquish or renunciate pretty early in life. All these people who are coming from rural areas, they have renounced early in life before they could get into married life. Though there are many who got married and then renounced, there are reasons for that also, because they had social challenges like some marital problems or social problems in the family, which made them think and leave this world. Now I will talk about analogy from urban life, why people don't renunciate, but what happens when they face social problems, when they face probably marital issues. What happens in the urban domain, urban areas? We see separations. We are seeing divorces. So there is a pattern or a trend which has been evolving or has evolved actually, and now it's very common thing to see separations, especially in the Western world. If you see, the more materialistically advanced they've become, the only way out of these social problems is relinquish that and still continue to live that way individually. But in rural areas, they don't have those options, so they renounce and become a sadhu. So that's a difference. There is a tendency to renounce, there is a tendency to leave the lifestyle and the conditions under which they are forced to live. So when they are unable to bear those conditions, they tend to quit. They tend to leave that way of living. So in rural areas, they have option of become sadhu. They don't have any other option. In urban areas, people have a kind of a sustenance. So they quit that social existence under which they are living at that point of time, and they want to leave that. So you can call it separation. They leave their families and they live alone. So there are a lot of people living single now. So you just see the similarity in the tendencies, but only the attire and the way they perceive is different, and what we call somebody is differently called or seen. So I have told that 2 points I have cleared. Now, why do we see more men, or what, in fact, not more men, almost 99% men who are sadhus? There are very few women who become sadhus. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that. For women to renounce and move all alone in the open is very difficult. They will not have that courage. You need a lot of courage to leave everything and move. I won't say like a beggar, but a beggar is begging, but a sadhu is begging in a different way. Sadhu surrenders. Sadhu is not begging, but he surrenders to the universe, and has that courage to just go out in the open and see how the nature looks after you. They believe that nature looks after you and nature will give you what you need, and it's God who's actually doing everything. The nature, niyati and prakriti, we say in Hindi, it is the nature which is doing everything. So nobody goes hungry, no sadhu goes hungry. They may go hungry for 1 or 2 days, but somehow you fit into the whole system. This universe is running a beautiful system. People don't have the courage to understand how the nature takes care of you. So these sadhus have that courage to surrender, and men inherently have that courage because they don't have so many fears which women will naturally have being a woman, because they have some safety issues, these issues. And men has been generally a provider, so men has that courage that he will provide, that provision will happen. Women are dependent more on the men, especially in the rural areas. In traditional system, women are dependent on men, so they don't have the courage that who is that invisible entity who will actually look after them. So this is the difference, where women are more under social influences. Men is able to break it. Men is already external, living an external life. Man is already working in an external world. Woman is more confined to a space within the family, but the man is going out. So man understands the external world better than a woman understands. So it's very easy for a man to become a sadhu. So I think I made this point clear. So when they face some social challenges and then they realize that this is not the life they want and they want to break free, like Bruce Springsteen's song, "I Want to Break Free." There's a song.
There is this song from Queen, Freddie Mercury, "I Want to Break Free."
Social compulsions and challenges. Now those challenges are socio-economic or political. These are basically socio-economical, political, or capitalist. So these challenges which are beyond his control, he sees that this is a system which is prevailing in his geography, and he has no way out. He doesn't see any way out of it, from that misery. So then he is forced to the social, the political, the economical, and all these challenges which he's forced to live, and it doesn't it makes which is making his life miserable. He sees that the only way to exit is just leave this. So he does that. Now we are not discussing all those challenges, political or social or economical challenges. They are mainly capitalist. They're basically triggered by the capitalism and political, and then there is crime. So it's a mix of, you can overall call it social. Social is basically a mix of capitalist, social, economical, political, and all these factors which are prevalent in that place, in that geography, at that given point of time. And when the man thinks that he has no way out, he quits. So now you understand why there are so many sadhus. Now in sadhus there are different cults. Some are Aghori, some are Naga sadhus, and there is a whole lot of system in India. There are akhadas, so it is pretty well organized. So they basically join the akhadas, and the akhadas look after them. So it's not that they are surrendering, going out in the open. There are cults, there are akhadas, there are those ashrams. So those, they are looked after. There is a whole system. So if you join akhada, the akhada has a way of looking after you. They support you, and so you are identified with akhada, and then you have identity there, and you are accepted in that whole system, and you are accepted as a sadhu. So you do have identity there, and you are absorbed in that. You are accepted in that system, and you are accepted by the people who in the rural areas. People accept sadhus, and in fact, some few decades back, sadhu coming to a house and asking for alms was common, and people actually respected them and gave them money and food and all. So there was a system. Today there is a fear that if a sadhu comes, you don't know he's really a sadhu, or he's some criminal in a disguise of a sadhu. So people don't treat them like that, and the new generation also is probably not now aware of this earlier tradition of sadhus coming. So sadhus are very respected, but now that change is also happening. So you don't see so frequently sadhus the way you used to see. Like I remember in 2004, when I was driving to Kedarnath and Badrinath, so they used to travel by foot. So there was a pilgrimage, Chardham Yatra in Uttarakhand in the Himalayas. The sadhus used to do by foot, and even a lot of people traveled by foot. And there are 4 destinations in the Himalayas, and each is almost 250-300 kilometers in the mountains from Rishikesh, traveling to all these 4 destinations. So they'll be traveling almost 1,000 kilometers by foot. And I used to see so many on the foot. And when I travel now, It's almost 20 years. You hardly see people on the foot. They are able to afford a ride by a bus or somebody gives a lift, but not so many people. So there is a reduction. There is this system is also challenged presently in the existing environment. So now, so I think I've explained the why do they become sadhus. There is a social reason, and why do they become sadhu, and why there is a reduction in that also, because the system is modifying, system is challenged. The new generations don't accept the system. They don't have that kind of respect, and then all kind of people are becoming sadhus. There are a lot of criminals, and there are. So these sadhus have physically renounced, but they have not mentally renounced, and a lot of them think that they will become they have some ambitions being a sadhu. They are having ambitions that probably as a sadhu they'll become famous, they'll have followings. So all kind of expectations are still there. There's a lot of sadhus are struggling. Actually, they are not very comfortable. If you go to Vrindavan, you see most of them sleeping on the promenade, the footpaths, and they are not in a very good condition. Those sadhus who go to Himalayas, they are better looked after by the locals. So, but the environmental conditions are very difficult in Himalayas, so it is not very easy to go to Himalayas. So, not all those sadhus who have evolved mentally will only reach Himalayas, and those sadhus who have not, they are more dependent on the worldly things. So they are in these religious places because it is easy to get food, easy to find things. So they stick to those places. So generally the progress, the way the people move, and those who go to Himalayas have actually spent a lot of time in these religious places, and then they realize that this is still worldly and materialistic. So slowly some who have evolved, they will move to Himalayas. So Himalayas is more divine, and it will make you mentally more strongly renunciate vairagya, or a detached person. So this is what I feel. I thought I will probably share my thoughts about a sadhu. A sadhu is also, he is actually a spiritual seeker. So if you really understand what sadhu is, he is actually a spiritual seeker. And he is also a great traveler. So these are also two aspects I want to talk about sadhu. That he's actually the great traveler. Like if you see a lot of people from the West in the age of 20, they come to India, and we call them backpackers, backpack travelers. So sadhu is actually a backpack traveler with very little, he's got one small bag, and he just doesn't have much possessions, and he's traveling the whole country either by foot or whatever he finds, and without any money. So he's like traveling not on budget, but he's traveling without money. So he's totally dependent on external world for his sustenance through alms. And so sadhus are, and the one thing still good in India is that if they go to some roadside dhaba, restaurant, motel, so people will definitely generally give them food, and somebody will give them some money. So they are like hitchhikers. They are like backpacker hitchhikers, and they travel the whole country, and they are spiritually seeking. They are trying to find God. They are trying to find answers about life. So they are the real spiritual seekers, I would say. Though they will take a lot of time, but they are following that whole process of traveling all over the country, not looking for comforts. They will sleep in the railway stations. If you go to Mathura railway station in the evening, you will see so many sadhus sleeping on the benches or on the platform. So they are not looking for anything. They are just flowing. They are not looking for any comforts. They are living a very austral life, and they're exploring, they're traveling. So they are the greatest traveler, I would say. The way they see the world, that's the way one should see the world. So one should actually travel like a sadhu. And if you can have that courage that you can travel like a sadhu, I think you are the best traveler you can be. Traveling by jets and cars. And when you travel by car, you don't see anything. You just fly past, you just go whiz. You don't come to see the place. You can't see the pulse of the place. You don't see the place, the fabric of the place. You don't spend time. You are just eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping, and you're seeing at very high level, 30,000 feet. But the sadhu is seeing things very, very closely. He's interacting with people, all kind of people. So sadhu, you have to really understand what exactly is sadhu. It's a beautiful thing to be a sadhu, actually. So if you can be like a sadhu, you can travel. It'd be amazing. Like